Imagine standing on a world where the ground beneath you is never truly still, not because of earthquakes, not because of storms, but because the entire moon is being tortured from the inside. Its surface cracks, its plains erupt, its mountains rise, and at any moment, the land itself can open and throw fire high into space. This is not a planet. It is not a star. It is a moon orbiting Jupiter, and it may be the most hellish world ever discovered in the solar system. That sounds exaggerated at first. When people think about extreme places in space, they usually imagine giant planets, burning worlds, frozen wastelands, or places so distant that life never had a chance. A moon does not sound like it should belong in that category. Moons are supposed to be quiet, cold, secondary, small worlds trapped in the shadow of something larger. Io destroys that idea completely, because Io is not quiet. It is not cold in the way people expect, and it is definitely not dead. It is the most volcanically active world in the entire solar system. Not one of the most active. Its surface is covered with the signs of constant geological violence. Lava lakes, giant volcanic pits, sulfur plains, fresh flows, eruptions so powerful they can blast material far above the surface in enormous plumes. This is not a world that had a violent past. This is a world trapped in violence right now. And what makes Io even more disturbing is that this is not random. It is not just an unlucky moon with a broken interior. It is being forced into this state by something larger, more powerful, and impossible for it to escape. Jupiter, that is the real horror in Io's story. Io is one of Jupiter's 4 major Galilean moons. From far away, that sounds almost elegant. A family of moons circling the largest planet in the solar system. But there is nothing gentle about Io's relationship with Jupiter. Io is being pulled apart by gravity. Jupiter's gravity is so strong that it stretches and squeezes Io as the moon moves through its orbit. And it is not just Jupiter. Europa and Ganymede also help keep Io's orbit slightly uneven. That unevenness matters because it stops Io from settling into a stable shape. Instead, it is constantly flexed. Imagine bending metal back and forth until heat builds inside it. Now imagine that happening to an entire moon, that is Io. Every orbit, it is squeezed and released, twisted and stressed, pulled and compressed until rock inside begins to melt. Scientists call this tidal heating, but the phrase sounds far too calm for what it really means. What it really means is that Io is being cooked by gravity. Its interior is full of rising heat and molten rock with only one real escape: eruption. An eruption on Io is not subtle. Some volcanic plumes shoot material hundreds of kilometers into space. Entire regions are repainted by sulfur and lava deposits. New hotspots appear, older ones fade. The surface is being destroyed and rebuilt so quickly that impact craters, which cover so many other moons, are rare here. They do not survive. Io keeps erasing itself with fire. Think about what that means. Most worlds preserve scars from the past. Ancient impacts remain visible for millions or even billions of years. On Io, the present is too violent to let the past stay visible. The moon keeps resurfacing itself over and over again. That alone makes it feel unnatural. A world with no peace long enough to keep its own history. And visually, Io does not even look real. Its surface is covered in strange yellows, oranges, reds, blacks, and whites. If you saw it without context, it might look fictional. But those colors are real. They come from sulfur CO2 frost, silicate lava, and volcanic deposits spread across the surface. Io does not look calm even before you understand it. It looks wounded, and the science makes it worse. The volcanoes on Io are not like the volcanoes on Earth. Earth's volcanoes' activity is driven largely by leftover internal heat and radioactive decay. Io is different. Its extreme activity is powered mainly by outside force. Jupiter's gravity is doing this in real time. That changes the emotional meaning of the moon completely. Io is not simply hot. It is being forced to stay hot. It is not simply active, it is being denied rest. And once you see it that way, Io stops feeling like a fascinating moon and starts feeling like a world under punishment. Even the sky above Io would be terrifying. Jupiter would dominate it, not the way our moon dominates Earth's sky, not even close. Jupiter would appear enormous, a gigantic striped world hanging above you like a permanent presence. It would not feel decorative. It would feel oppressive. Because that massive world in the sky is the reason the ground beneath you is tearing itself apart. And Jupiter brings another danger with it: radiation. Io orbits deep inside Jupiter's huge magnetosphere, a region filled with intense radiation. That means Io is not only volcanically hellish, it is also soaked in lethal radiation. An unprotected human would not just face erupting ground, toxic chemistry, and unstable terrain. The radiation alone would already be deadly. So even if the surface somehow spared you, the space around Io would not. That is what makes Io such a complete nightmare. Fire below, radiation above, no safety in any direction. And yet, for all of this violence, Io matters enormously to science. Because extreme places reveal truths that gentler worlds hide. Io helps scientists understand tidal heating in its most dramatic form. It shows what gravity can do when it is allowed to keep pulling on a world without mercy, and that matters beyond Io itself. Other moons, like Europa, are also shaped by tidal heating, though in much less visibly catastrophic ways. On Europa, that energy may help keep an ocean liquid beneath ice. On Io, the same basic process becomes open torment. So Io is not just important because it is extreme, it is important because it shows us gravity's darker side. We usually think of gravity as something stable and clean, the force that keeps planets in orbit and our feet on the ground. But Io reveals another version of gravity, not as a peaceful organizing force, but as something that can bend rock, melt interiors, and turn an entire moon into a permanent eruption zone. That is deeply unsettling, because it means a world can remain physically intact while still being ruined continuously. And that may be the most disturbing thing about Io. It is not being destroyed all at once, it is being tortured forever. A world that explodes once is tragic. A world that burns endlessly is worse. Io's mountains make it even stranger. Some rise higher than Everest, towering above the volcanic plains. That surprises people, because a moon this active sounds like it should be flattened by its own chaos. But Io is full of contradictions. The same internal stresses that help fuel volcanism may also help shape these massive landforms. So Io is not just a flat volcanic wasteland. It is a broken, rising, erupting landscape under constant pressure. Its atmosphere offers no comfort either. Io has only a very thin atmosphere, mostly made of sulfur dioxide. It is supported in part by volcanic outgassing. But this is no protective sky. It is a fragile veil over a world of lava, frost, sulfur, and radiation. Temperatures vary sharply. The chemistry is toxic. The ground is unstable. The environment changes with eruption and sunlight. There is no version of Io that feels welcoming, only different versions of hostile. And maybe that is why Io leaves such a strong impression once you truly understand it. Some worlds are frightening because they are frozen, some because they are crushing, poisonous, or storm-filled. Io is frightening because it feels actively abused by the system it belongs to. It is a moon living under punishment, a world that cannot cool down because one of the largest planets in the solar system keeps pulling on it with relentless force. And this is where Io becomes more than just a moon with volcanoes. It becomes a warning about what happens when a world is trapped in the wrong relationship with the wrong giant. Jupiter does not need to touch Io to hurt it. It hurts it through gravity alone. That is terrifying in a very specific way, because gravity feels invisible to us, natural, harmless, predictable. But on Io, gravity becomes a weapon, a force that twists rock, melts the interior, and denies the moon any chance of peace. It changes how you think about order in the solar system. What looks stable from far away can be deeply violent up close. A moon orbiting a planet sounds peaceful when written on paper. Io proves it isn't. And then there is the look of its eruptions. Io does not just erupt in the familiar image of earthly volcanoes. Its chemistry stains the surface in surreal colors. Sulfur can appear yellow. Other compounds can produce reds and oranges. Hot lava cuts through this landscape with glowing violence. The result is a moon that can look strangely beautiful until you remember what you are actually seeing. Not art. Evidence of wounds that never close. And because Io is so active, its influence does not stay on the surface. Volcanic gases escape into space, become ionized, and help form a ring of charged particles around Jupiter. In other words, Io's suffering spills outward. It becomes part of the larger system of the giant planet already tormenting it. Even its pain becomes orbital. That detail makes the whole story feel even darker. Io is not just harmed by Jupiter's system, it is woven into it completely. There is no distance, no edge, no refuge where Io gets to exist in peace. So what does all of this mean for us? It means the most hellish world in the solar system may not be a planet at all. It may be a moon, a place many people would normally expect to be small, cold, and unremarkable. It means some of the worst places in the solar system are not defined only by distance from the sun, but by gravitational relationships. It means a world can be beautiful in images, scientifically important in study, and still be one of the cruelest environments nature has produced. Io is not just volcanic, it is tormented. It is not just unstable. It is restless in a way that borders on horrifying. It is a moon with mountains taller than Everest, plumes that blast into space, sulfur spread across the ground, almost no real atmosphere, and lethal radiation pouring through its environment from the giant planet above. That is not a moon you explore casually. That is a moon you survive for as long as reality allows, which would not be long. And maybe that is the most disturbing part of all. Io is not frightening because it hides its danger. It is frightening because the danger is visible everywhere, and even then the truth is worse than the image. Every color is a clue. Every plume is a warning. Every orbit is another cycle of pain. When people picture moons, they imagine dead rocks in the dark. Io reminds us that moons can scream too. Not with sound, not with words, but with fire. A broken world circling a giant. A moon melted by gravity. A place where the ground cannot heal, because the force hurting it never stops. Io is not peaceful. It is not calm. It is not quietly mysterious like a frozen moon under distant light. It is violent, exposed, unstable, and endlessly remade by forces much larger than itself. And maybe that is why Io stays with you once you learn what it really is. Because it feels less like a moon, and more like a warning carved into the edge of Jupiter's empire. Some places in the solar system are dangerous because they are too cold, some because they are too hot, some because they crush, poison, or irradiate anything that comes near them. Io does all of it in its own way, and it does it while orbiting in plain sight around the largest planet in the solar system, as if the universe wanted to make one thing clear: even moons can become hell.